Hey everyone, it's Tammy, and I'm home here in the hills of New Mexico. I'm just going to pan a little bit here. I did a moment of silence for Instagram and Facebook, but I'm just going to, as I talk, I'm going to pan here a little bit just so you can, this is my home. This is my backyard. Spectacular, eh? And that's just, just give or take 180 degrees anyway. Yeah, traveling across the country was a surreal experience. For those of you who don't know, or if you're new to me, I've just spent the last 4 months taking care of my dad, who had some significant health issues that took me to Georgia. And then, of course, the pandemic hit, and I stayed because he was unable to get medical assistance and help, and that's the same thing, right? Anyway, I stayed to help take care of him and get him reestablished with the healthcare system, and have come home. And I actually have my own medical treatments I have to take care of here in the next couple of weeks. I got a couple of surgeries scheduled. Sometime soon you'll probably see me do another video. I'll have a scar here. I got to get this removed. This is skin cancer. And I've got to have surgery on my foot, reconstructive surgery on my foot. So yeah, that's what's going on with me. But anyway, and yeah, this is old. This is decades old, according to the dermatologist. There was one here. Again, if you're new to me, this long time ago, before I ever understood fully. And this is part of what actually prompted me to go into the investigation that I have, and wanting to uplift our use of essential oils, actually use them in a more proactive way. This is the reason why I've started doing these Zoom meetings for both consumers as well as health professionals. And you can check those out on the links in the box below. But what I'm actually wanting to talk about today is this mask thing. Again, traveling across the country was very interesting. Having been with my dad for 4 months, we really didn't do anything. I mean, I went to the grocery store. In Georgia, it is, although they have implemented requirements now in several of the large chain stores to wear masks, up until that point, it was voluntary. And across the country, you can kind of see that, although even service stations were beginning to post signs saying, as of July such and such, this will be now mandatory, although people walk in. And then I saw a news article this morning that said that, people are still challenging this, which, hey, look, I get it, all right? And in fact, I'm about to complete a blog post, and this is part of what this is. I wrote it on the way out here. Regarding this virus. I've been calling it the virus of 2020. It's the pandemic, the 2020 pandemic, however you want to. The strain of virus is the coronavirus, okay? This is not about any sort of get how to heal yourself, because the truth is, based off the research investigations that I've been conducting, there is no immunity going to be developed to coronavirus. And the whole thing with the masks is, if you don't want to wear a mask, that's fine. That's your choice. I understand the states are mandating it. I understand that businesses are mandating it. I'm sick of listening to the political division and the public separation, because people without masks want to shame the people with masks, and the people with masks want to shame the people without masks. And the reason this is happening is because everybody wants to feel justified in their decision, and you are. You absolutely are. So here's a few things about masks, okay? First of all, a mask is to protect you from me. So if I have a mask on, that's the whole purpose to a mask. You guys, and if you want to question that, bring it, because I used to work in dentistry and medicine. I mean, granted, we didn't have to wear masks 8 hours a day, but then even having been in medical offices these last 4 months, I can straight up tell you the medical professionals are not wearing them when they are talking amongst themselves. I've seen it too many times. I even did a little thing for Instagram the other day and showing the different ways I see people wearing masks. And it's hilarious. And the big one is around the chin. I see that everywhere in businesses. But again, in the medical field, I've seen it with the people behind the counters, behind the desks, behind the computers. They're not wearing them. They only put them on when you walk into the room. I even walked into a Wendy's the other day, which the dining room is closed, obviously, but you can sit outside. I didn't want to drive through the window. I wanted to go in. I like people. Anyway, I walked in, had my mask on. I walked in, the girl behind the counter did not have her mask on. So I didn't say anything to her. The point that I'm getting at is that, I understand we don't want to wear these masks. And the fact is that we're not necessarily wearing them 8 hours straight. We are taking them off. But and again, as a former medical dental professional, I used to have to wear a mask. But again, it wasn't to the extreme that we're being encouraged to do so now. Nonetheless, I didn't like it. It's suffocating, okay? I've never liked anything on my face, so I completely understand the aversion to wanting to wear one. But the fact is, when we wore them, it was to protect the patient from us, not the other way around. So, but the fact that there's all this political rhetoric and arguing to the degree where relationships are falling out, we're choosing friends based off of our suppositions. Well, if you wear a mask, you're this. If you don't wear a mask, you're that. We've got to knock this off. We're creating more problems for ourselves than we even want to begin to think. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, the coronavirus is not one that we're going to be able to build an immunity to. And here's why. And again, this is, like I said, I'm writing about this. But before I jump into that, let me just say this much. This is something, I said this yesterday, talking to some friends at the coffee shop. I am in shock to think that it's taken this to get us to understand that we've been socially irresponsible. We have socially lacked boundaries for years longer than many of us have been alive. I don't know how many of you of a certain age, and maybe if you even are in your 20s, possibly even in your teens, have been told, unless you're puking or have a fever, you need to be at work. Interesting, yeah? Today, we see signs everywhere. If you don't feel well, stay home. Why did it take 2020's virus to get us to understand that if we feel like crap, regardless of whether we're throwing up or have a fever, we should stay home and take care of ourselves? Yes, there are a few chosen people who will take advantage of sick days. I understand that. But you know what? Karma's a bitch. It'll come back to haunt them. That's all I'm going to say. Because you can only take advantage of that stuff so long before you no longer have a job. But the fact is our culture has taught us, has trained us to be socially irresponsible, and it's trained us to lack boundaries. Coming up and hugging people with, just wanting to hug, instead of going, hey, can I give you a hug? I mean, back in March, it was interesting. Back in March, I was coming down with something. I don't know what it was. I actually did some videos around it. I suspect I may even had this virus. I initially thought it was allergies. I had just completed my radiation treatment. I figured I'd contracted something because my system had been so depleted as a result of going through 30 days of radiation. But then it settled in my chest, and it was rough. I mean, I've had walking pneumonia, I've had bronchitis, and I've never had that kind of chest congestion in my life. Now, I treated myself, and I obviously fared well with it so far, and that's part of the reason for this post. I'm not going to give it all away here. But anyway, so but the point that I'm getting at is that first day when I started feeling horrible, it was before the fever set in, but I was feeling horribly. Three people of all days, decided they wanted to give me a hug. And every one of them, but they did, they kind of started coming at me, and I had to go, no, 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 stay away. I don't feel well right now. And so I had to kind of fend them off. But I felt horrible. But the fact is that and I don't mean any disrespect. I'm a hugger myself, but we don't, we can't hug one another. It's like not hugging, not even shaking hands. It's, the fact that, this whole thing started and we had to be reminded to wash our hands. Every time I even come outside, I'll go in and I'll wash my hands. But we're only learning this now. Why? Nevertheless, viral infections are the top cause of infectious disease on the planet. All right? Viral infections are passed via saliva, blood, other, bodily fluids, as well as aerosols. They enter the body through various genetic receptors. The coronavirus enters the body through the ACE2 receptor. That's a hormonal receptor. That's the angiotensin converting enzyme, which means it's producing angiotensin, which then will activate the angiotensin 2 receptor, which now begins to increase blood pressure. Therein lies the reason or how it's affecting the cardiovascular and the respiratory system. Not to mention the fact the ACE2 receptor is predominantly found in the lungs. This is the reason why it has the appearance of a cold or a flu, but it's not the cold or a flu. You guys, we don't even develop immunities to colds, okay? So let's just be realistic here. We don't develop immunities to colds. We're not developing immunity to the human papillomavirus, HPV. We have to go get a shot for that. We don't develop immunity to flus, okay? So yes, there are some things, and yeah, we can develop an immunity to, well, they say we develop an immunity to chickenpox, sorry. But yet as adults, we're getting shingles. It's the same virus, okay? It's the zoster virus. So we're not even, this is the reason why we have to go get it, there's vaccines now for chickenpox, and there's vaccines for shingles, because we're not developing immunities to these. And yes, we can get vaccinations, but we're not guaranteed that we're not going to get it again, because these viruses adapt. So social responsibility is important, okay? It's absolutely important. It's been important this entire time. And should we be protecting ourselves, or should we be protecting others? Absolutely. Like I said, the mask is going to protect you, other people from you. That's the purpose of the mask. So if in fact, and you can be asymptomatic with the flu, you can be asymptomatic with the cold, you're definitely asymptomatic with HIV. You don't even know you have it before you know and then it's being passed along. So we're asymptomatic with a lot of viruses. Therefore, wearing a mask is respect for others. It's not a political statement. If you don't want to wear the mask, that's fine. Don't wear the mask. I personally don't like to wear it, and but at the same time, I don't want our economy to drop. And I'll tell you straight up, I was told by a medical professional these last 4 months, I was told face to face by a medical professional that the reason why, because if you go out in places, you're here that if you're younger than a certain age, or if you're, having to wear, you have trouble breathing and you need to be on oxygen, yada, 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 you don't have to wear a mask. Well, they're not necessarily upholding that. And I've actually seen signs in places you have to have a permission slip from your doctor to be able to get in anywhere, to walk in without a mask. So therefore, they're going to make you wear a mask. They're going to ask you to wear a mask, but they're not going to, the police, what I was reading this morning is the police aren't necessarily going to respond if you walk into a place without a mask on. But the point that I'm getting at here is that I asked for my dad if he could please have a permission slip, because he has to be on oxygen 24/7. And I was told straight up by a pulmonologist, sorry, I'm sweating, by a pulmonologist, that he will not issue a permission slip because his feeling is the more you have to wear a mask, the more you'll stay home. I hate to remind everybody, this virus isn't going to go away. We may want to think that it is, but the SARS virus from 2002 and 2003 is along the same lines as this. The SARS didn't go away, it just changed. These viruses don't go away, they adapt. And as I mentioned a little while ago, that viral infections are the top cause for infectious diseases around the world, and they are the 6th leading cause of death around the world. It's time to take these seriously. To wear a mask is to protect others. If you're asymptomatic, that doesn't mean you don't have a virus. Whether we're talking Epstein-Barr, 95% of the population, adult population on the planet, between 90 and 95% of the population actually has Epstein-Barr virus in their body. My suspicion is this coronavirus is not unlike Lyme. Lyme's not a virus, but it's doing the same thing. That's the whole premise to this post. And yes, I do offer suggestions on how to protect ourselves. And it's not all about a mask. Because the mask is not going to protect you from somebody else. Unless you're wearing, one of those filtered masks and your face is sealed. And again, a number of viruses enter epithelial cells. Now, the coronavirus isn't doing that, but again, all you have to do is breathe it. That's all you have to do is breathe it. So, to wear a mask is to protect others. To not wear a mask is absolutely okay. And it's part of the reason why I like being out here, I don't like wearing a mask, as I mentioned earlier. If I could go into a business and not wear a mask, I would. But my concern is if this is the mentality of our medical world and others, that the longer we have to wear a mask, the longer we'll stay home, the more frequently, the less we will venture out. I don't want to see our businesses go belly up. I would just as soon wear a mask and promote the flow of abundance, prosperity. If we're going to let this mask limit our relationships, we're going to let this mask thing limit our ability to do trade with one another and limit our prosperity, what the hell are we doing? We're going to let this thing kill us to that level? No. So there's a real serious nature to this virus, absolutely, and that's what I'm writing about. And there's ways to actually protect ourselves. And that's what I'm writing about too, and that's the premise of my work. So, yeah, that's where I want to end this. But like I said, please, can we please stop battling over a stinking mask? Please. It's a form of respect of others, and it's actually respecting people's businesses. It's respecting people's ability to have, to thrive. Why are we going to try and kill each other off financially? This has gotten ridiculous. I mean, driving across the country, grocery store chains were closed. I saw stores, Publix, I'll name that one. I saw Publix in Macon, Georgia, closed up. Restaurant chains closed up. It shouldn't be coming to this. We should not be getting to this point. So for those of you who don't like to wear a mask, I'm right there with you. But please don't let that be the reason why you lose friends. Please don't let that be the reason why local businesses lose your business because you're not willing to comply with their request. Please. You wearing a mask is respecting others. If this is one way that we can demonstrate respect towards one another and be kind, then let's do it. All right, that's it for me. I'm going to go back and continue taking in this day. I love you guys, and I will see you soon.